The Desperate Contract. Commander Zeleth of the Thoran Coalition stood in the observation deck of Stellar Station Kef-7, watching his broken fleet drift like dying stars against the void. 6 months had passed since the Kragoth War ended, but the scars remained fresh. Out of 47 warships that had defended Thoran space, only 12 could still fly. The rest floated in orbital berths, their hulls torn open, their engines cold, their weapon systems silent. Some ships were held together by emergency force fields. Others had entire sections missing, cut away by Kragoth plasma weapons that burned hotter than lost suns. Zeleth was a career military officer, tall and gray-skinned like all Thorans, with 4 arms that now hung heavy at his sides. His people were known throughout the galaxy as master tacticians and ship designers. Thoran vessels were elegant, efficient, and deadly. Every system was perfectly integrated. Every component was crafted with precision that took years to achieve. But precision took time, and time was something the Coalition no longer had. His chief engineer had delivered the report 3 days ago. At current repair rates, it would take 4 years to restore the fleet. 4 years of remaining vulnerable while the Kragoth regrouped beyond the border. 4 years of hoping the enemy would not return. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. Zeleth did not turn around. He knew who it was by the footsteps. Humans walked differently than other species, with a strange bouncing energy even in artificial gravity. Ambassador Chen Wei entered the observation deck carrying a digital tablet. He was young for a diplomat, maybe 40 standard years, with dark hair starting to show gray at the temples. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 30 years ago. Most species still considered them newcomers, enthusiastic children playing in an adult galaxy. They had decent ships, but nothing compared to Thoran engineering. Their technology was functional but unremarkable. Their main contribution to galactic civilization so far had been unusual foods and an alarming variety of stimulant beverages. "Commander Zeleth," Chen Wei said, bowing slightly in the human custom. "I heard about your fleet situation through the council channels. Earth would like to offer assistance." Zeleth finally turned to face the human ambassador. He tried to keep the disappointment from his voice. The Galactic Council had already sent their sympathies. The Valorians had offered prayers to their crystal gods. The Nexari had composed a symphony about perseverance in the face of hardship. None of that repaired broken ships or restored dead engines. "That is kind of you, Ambassador," Zeleth said carefully, "but ship repair requires extremely advanced knowledge and precision manufacturing. Our technology is considerably more complex than human systems. No offense intended, but I doubt Earth has the capability to help with Thoran military vessels." Chen Wei smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Zeleth uneasy. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "You are absolutely correct, Commander. Human technology is not as advanced as yours. We cannot match your precision or your elegance, but we have something else. We have workers, lots and lots of workers. And we have the ability to mobilize resources very, very quickly." Zeleth crossed his upper arms, a Thoran gesture of polite skepticism. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Give us a contract," Chen Wei said. "Let Earth try to help. Your 12 most damaged cruisers, the ones your engineers say will take years to repair. Give them to us. We will have them flying again in 6 months. 6 months? That was impossible. Thoran engineers had estimated 18 months minimum for even one of those vessels. How many workers would you send? And what is your price?" Chen Wei consulted his tablet and showed Zeleth a number. The price was surprisingly low. Suspiciously low, actually. As for workers, we will send enough to get the job done properly. Zeleth studied the human's face, looking for signs of deception or incompetence. He found neither. What he found was confidence and something else. Determination, perhaps, or stubbornness. With humans, those two qualities often looked identical. The truth was simple. Zeleth was desperate. His people were vulnerable. Any help was better than no help, even from inexperienced humans who did not understand what they were promising. "Very well," Zeleth said carefully. "I will transmit the technical specifications and docking assignments. But Ambassador, our ships are extremely complex. If your people cannot handle the work, you must tell me immediately. We cannot afford to have vessels damaged further." Chen Wei bowed again. "Thank you, Commander. I will contact Earth right away. My government will be very excited to help." He walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. "Oh, one small thing. When our repair fleet arrives, please do not be alarmed by the numbers. We like to be prepared." Before Zeleth could ask what that meant, the human was gone. The contract was finalized within 2 days. Zeleth signed it with mixed feelings. Hope that something might actually get done, but doubt that humans could deliver on their promises. He returned to his other duties. There were refugee settlements to organize, supply chains to restore, diplomatic relations to maintain. Being a military commander during wartime was difficult. Being one during the aftermath of war was almost impossible. 3 weeks passed. Zeleth had almost forgotten about the human repair contract. Then, his communication console erupted with an urgent priority alert from Thoran Defense Command. "Commander, we have a situation," his tactical officer said. Her name was Kess, and her voice carried a tone Zeleth had not heard since the war, fear mixed with confusion. "We're detecting massive quantum disturbances at the system edge. Multiple vessels emerging from jump space. Very large signatures." Zeleth felt his blood turn cold. The Kragoth. They had returned sooner than anyone predicted. "How many ships?" he demanded, already running toward the command center. His 4 arms reached for weapons that were not there. Old instincts from too many battles. "Negative on Kragoth biosignatures," Kess reported. "These are conventional drives, mechanical vessels. But, Commander, there are many of them. We count 150 separate ships." 150! Zeleth stopped running. That made no sense. Who would send such a fleet into Thoran space without warning? What are their configurations? "They're transmitting identification codes now," Kess reported. Her voice changed from fear to absolute bewilderment. "Commander, they are human ships. All of them. They're saying they're here about a repair contract." Zeleth sprinted the rest of the way to the command center. When he arrived, every screen showed the same impossible sight. Human ships were appearing at the edge of the system one after another, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect coordination. Big ships, small ships, ships that looked like flying factories, ships that looked like mobile space stations. They kept coming, filling the dark with running lights and engine glow. His console chimed with an incoming transmission. A human woman appeared on the screen. She wore a dark blue work uniform covered with patches and insignia. Behind her, Zeleth could see a massive command center filled with humans working at stations. "This is Fleet Coordinator Maria Santos of the Earth vessel New Horizon, requesting permission to approach Stellar Station KEF-7 and begin repair operations. We are here about the contract." Zeleth stared at the screen. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "You brought 150 ships for a 12-ship repair contract?" Maria Santos smiled that same knowing smile Chen Wei had shown. "Commander, we heard you needed help, so we brought everything we might need. Permission to approach." Zeleth looked at his tactical officer. Kess looked back at him with all 4 of her eyes wide open. Around the command center, other Thoran officers stood frozen, watching the human fleet continue to arrive. This was not a repair mission. This was an invasion of assistance. What had Chen Wei done? What had Zeleth agreed to? He looked back at Maria Santos, at the determined expression on her human face, at the massive command center behind her full of workers ready to help. "Permission granted," he said quietly. "Welcome to Thoran space." The human fleet took 5 hours to fully arrive and position themselves around Stellar Station KEF-7. Zeleth watched from the command center as ship after ship took up positions with surprising precision. They moved together like a school of fish he had once seen in a nature documentary about Earth oceans. Coordinated, purposeful, efficient. When the last ship was in place, Maria Santos requested a meeting. Zeleth agreed, still trying to process what was happening. He expected maybe 10 humans, maybe 20. What he got was Maria Santos and 5 other humans, all wearing work uniforms and carrying portable computers.
They did not look like military officers or politicians. They looked like people who built things with their own hands. "Commander Zeleth," Maria said, shaking his hand in the strange human custom of greeting. "Thank you for allowing us to help. Let me explain what we brought." She activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed the human fleet in detailed breakdown. "We have 60 factory ships equipped with full manufacturing capabilities. We have 40 resource haulers carrying raw materials. We have 30 support vessels including medical facilities, living quarters, and command centers. We have 20 military escorts, and we have several thousand small transport and utility ships." Zeleth felt his head spinning. "This is vastly more than necessary for 12 ships." "Yes," Maria agreed. "We read the intelligence reports that Ambassador Chen sent us. Your entire fleet is damaged. 35 ships in total, correct? We decided to repair all of them." "All of them?" Zeleth could barely form words.
Are their suggestions good? Yes, Vorath admitted reluctantly. Very good, actually. We could never implement them because we lacked the time and resources, but the humans seem to have both. Then let them make the improvements, Zeleth decided. We would be fools to refuse help when it is freely offered. 2 weeks passed. The work continued around the clock. The station, which had been quiet and full of despair, was now full of activity and strange new sounds. Human ships were everywhere. Human workers moved through the corridors in groups, always carrying tools or parts or computers. The Thorans who worked alongside them reported strange things. The humans sang while they worked. They told jokes over their communication channels. They seemed to treat the dangerous job of ship repair like it was some kind of adventure. And they consumed massive amounts of coffee and other drinks, glowing liquids in metal containers with names like Lightning Strike and Thunderbolt and Maximum Voltage. Vordoth tried one against his better judgment and could not sleep for 20 hours. One night, Zeleth could not sleep either. He went to the observation deck to watch the work. He found Vorath already there, staring at a human team working on a Thorn cruiser. They're installing new armor plating right now, Vorath said quietly. That team has been working for 17 hours. That is too long, Zeleth said. I have told them this multiple times. They said they volunteered for the extra shift. They said another team needed rest for a complex task tomorrow, so they are covering for them. They do this without being ordered, without additional pay? They watched in silence for a while. Small human figures in spacesuits moved across the hull of the massive warship, cutting, welding, building. Then Vorath said something that had been bothering him for days. Commander, I asked the human team leader, Rodriguez, why they work so hard, why they push themselves like this. Do you know what she told me? What? She said that somewhere on Earth right now, there is a family sleeping safely because of work they did 5 years ago on a different ship. She said every vessel they repair might save lives they will never meet. She said that makes every extra hour worth it. Zeleth felt something strange in his chest. These humans were so young compared to other galactic species, so new to space travel, but they understood something that many older civilizations had forgotten. They understood duty. They understood sacrifice, not as abstract concepts, but as lived reality. Keep watching them, Zeleth told Vorath, and keep learning. I think these humans have much to teach us. 3 weeks into the project, Maria Santos requested another meeting. She brought a thick data file. The repairs are going extremely well, she said. We are ahead of schedule. All 35 ships will be operational within 4 months instead of years. Zeleth felt relief wash over him like cool water. 4 months would give them real security. That is wonderful news. Thank you. But we have some additional suggestions, Maria continued. She opened the data file. It was over 300 pages long. Our engineers have analyzed your ship designs. You build beautiful vessels, Commander. Truly beautiful. But we found ways to make them work better. Zeleth looked through the file. The humans had studied every system on every ship, power distribution, weapon arrays, shield generators, engine efficiency. For each system, they had detailed suggestions for improvement. These modifications would make our ships considerably stronger. Yes, Maria said. Not by replacing your technology with ours. Your technology is superior to ours in many ways.
but by using what you already have more efficiently. Better power routing could increase shield strength by 18%. Improved cooling systems could allow weapons to fire 23% faster. Small changes that add up to significant improvements. Why did we not think of these ourselves? Zalith asked. Maria smiled gently. Because you are in the middle of a crisis. You are focused on survival, not optimization. We have fresh eyes and the luxury of time to study. That is all. How long would these modifications take? We can implement them while doing the repairs. No additional time needed, but only with your approval. Zalith thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. Approved. All of them. Days turned into weeks. Vorath spent more time with the human engineers. They worked side by side now, not as supervisors and workers, but as partners. He found himself particularly working with a team leader named Jackson, a quiet man who seemed to understand Thoran engineering better than some Thorans. One day, while optimizing a power junction, Vorath asked him a question that had been on his mind. Jackson, your people are doing far more work than the contract requires. You could have repaired 12 ships and left. Why do all this extra work? Jackson paused his welding and lifted his face shield. May I tell you a story about Earth? Please. 200 years ago, before we went to space, there was a terrible earthquake in a human city. Many buildings collapsed with people trapped inside. The rescue workers who came did not stop when they saved the first person. They did not stop when they saved 20 people. They kept going back into dangerous, unstable buildings until everyone was out. Some rescue workers died doing this. Do you know why they kept going? Vorath thought about it. Because it was their duty? Partly, Jackson said, but also because humans have a saying, we do not leave people behind. When we see someone in danger, we help. We do not help halfway. We do not help just enough to satisfy a contract. We help until the job is done. He went back to his welding. Your people are in danger from the Kragoth, so we will not leave until you are safe. All of you. Vorath felt his throat tighten with emotion. That evening, he was doing a routine inspection of the human fleet composition. He wanted to understand their ships better. Most of the fleet was factory ships and cargo haulers, as expected. But as he checked the detailed registry, something caught his attention. Mixed throughout the civilian vessels were military ships, human warships. At least 20 of them, maybe more. They were not in military formations. They were spread throughout the fleet, trying to look like support vessels. But Vorath had studied ship design his entire life. He knew a warship when he saw one. He took his discovery to Zalith immediately. They brought warships, he said, showing the evidence. Why would they bring warships to a repair mission? Zalith studied the data. He should have felt alarmed. Warships in Thoran space without clear disclosure could be seen as a threat, even an act of war. But something in his instincts told him this was different. He contacted Maria and asked her to explain. Maria did not try to hide anything. She immediately arranged for Zalith and Vorath to meet with one of the human military commanders. Her name was Captain Lu Feng, and she commanded the warship Eternal Vigilance. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen combat. Captain Lu was direct and honest in a way that Zalith appreciated. Yes, we brought military vessels. 23 of them, to be exact. They're here as protection. Protection for your workers? Zalith asked. Protection for everyone, Lu corrected. Commander, we have been tracking the Kragoth since your war ended. They are regrouping faster than your intelligence predicted. There's a real possibility they could attack while we are here, while your fleet is still being repaired. If that happens, we will not abandon you. You came prepared to fight a war, Zalith said. We came prepared to help, but yes, if helping requires fighting, we will fight. That is what allies do. We are not formal allies, Zalith pointed out. We have a repair contract, nothing more. Lu looked at him with an expression that reminded him of Chen Wei's knowing smile. Commander, you asked Earth for help. We came. In human culture, that makes us friends, and friends protect friends. That night, Zalith asked Maria the question that had been burning in his mind since the human fleet arrived. Why? He asked simply. You could have sent a small team. You could have done the minimum work and left. Why bring 60,000 people? Why bring warships? Why risk so much for a species you barely know? Maria was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft, but absolutely firm. Commander, humans spent thousands of years fighting each other on our homeworld. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. We learned something from all that pain and bloodshed. We learned that the only way to survive is to help each other. When we finally reached the stars and found other species, we decided to treat them the same way. To help them. She looked out at the ships being repaired. The Kragoth want to destroy you. They do not care that you are brilliant engineers. They do not care that you have families and culture and dreams. They only care about conquest. We will not let that happen if we can prevent it. Even if it costs human lives? Zalith asked quietly. Yes, Maria said without hesitation, because that is who we are. We help, we protect, we stand with those who need us, and we do not abandon our friends. Zalith looked at this human woman who had brought an armada disguised as a repair fleet. He thought about Chenwi's smile, about Jackson's dedication, about the 60,000 humans working around the clock, consuming dangerous amounts of caffeine. The galaxy thought humans were primitive, young, naive. But in that moment, Zalith realized the galaxy was wrong. Humans were not primitive. They were something the galaxy had not seen in a long time. They were true friends. The alarm woke Zalith from deep sleep. It was the sound every Thorn officer feared. The sound that meant only one thing. Invasion alert! He ran to the command center, still in his sleeping clothes, his forearms reaching for his uniform as he moved.
When friends become warriors. Zelith ran to the observation window and watched in disbelief as the human fleet transformed before his eyes. The factory ships and cargo haulers were pulling back to safe distances, moving with practiced efficiency. But the warships were doing something else entirely. They were moving forward, positioning themselves between the station and the approaching Kragoth fleet. And somehow, impossibly, the human workers were getting partially repaired Thoran ships ready for combat. Ships that had been in repair berths just minutes ago were now powering up their engines and weapon systems. His communication console lit up with an incoming call. It was Maria Santos, but she looked different now. Gone was the friendly smile. Her expression was hard, focused, military. Commander Zelith, we need to coordinate our defense immediately. Captain Liu is preparing to link our tactical systems with yours. With your permission, we can create a unified command structure. You are staying? Zelith said. It was not a question, but a statement of stunned realization. You should run. This is not your fight. You can escape before they arrive. Maria's eyes flashed with something that might have been anger. With all respect, Commander, that is absolutely wrong. We are here. Your people are in danger. That makes it our fight. Now please, give us tactical command authorization. We have experience fighting the Kragoth. Experience? Zelith felt confused. When did humans fight the Kragoth? 4 months ago, Maria said. They attacked a human mining colony on the edge of our space. We drove them off. We know their tactics, their weapons, their weaknesses. We have been preparing for this possibility since we arrived. That is why we brought the warships. Zelith looked at Vorath, who had just entered the command center. His engineer's face showed the same shock Zelith felt. You knew they might attack? You knew and you stayed anyway? We hoped they would not come, Maria said, but we prepared for the worst. That is what humans do. Now, Commander, we are wasting time. Authorization granted, Zelith said. Kess, link our systems with the human tactical network. Within minutes, the command center transformed. Human tactical data began flowing across Thoran screens. Captain Liu appeared on the main display, standing in what was clearly a military command center on the Eternal Vigilance. Around her, human officers worked at combat stations with the calm efficiency of experienced warriors.
Thoran vessels. This is Captain Liu. All ships capable of combat form up in defensive formation Alpha 7. Human warships will take point positions. We will engage the Kragoth at maximum range and draw them into a crossfire pattern. Zeleth watched his screens as the combined fleet moved into position. The humans were placing their ships in the most dangerous positions, absorbing the initial attack that should have fallen on Thoran vessels. "Commander," Kess said quietly, "the humans are using themselves as shields for our ships." "I know," Zeleth said. His voice felt thick. "I see it." The Kragoth fleet approached like a swarm of metallic insects. Their ships were biomechanical horrors, grown as much as built, combining living tissue with machine components. They did not fly in neat formations like civilized species. They swarmed, attacked from multiple angles, overwhelmed through sheer numbers and aggression. Zeleth had fought them for 2 years during the war. He had watched them destroy Thoran ships with terrifying efficiency. The memory of those battles made his hands shake. "All ships, weapons free," Captain Liu commanded. "Fire at will. Engage with extreme prejudice." The human warships opened fire first. Their weapons were not as elegant as Thoran systems, but they were effective in a brutal, straightforward way. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile batteries launched swarms of guided warheads. Laser arrays cut through space with beams of concentrated light. The Kragoth had faced Thoran precision before, but they had never faced human aggression. The lead Kragoth ship stumbled under the unexpected assault. Several exploded immediately. Others veered off course, their biomechanical systems confused by the intensity of the attack. Then the Thoran ships opened fire, and the space between the fleets became a storm of energy and metal. Zeleth watched the tactical display as the battle developed. The humans were fighting with a style he had never seen before. They did not maintain careful firing solutions like Thoran ships. They did not calculate optimal engagement ranges. They simply threw everything they had at the enemy with relentless, almost reckless determination. A Kragoth cruiser broke through the initial defensive line and headed straight for a cluster of human factory ships. Zeleth opened his mouth to shout a warning, but before he could speak, 3 human warships broke formation and intercepted. They placed themselves directly in the Kragoth's path and unleashed concentrated fire at point-blank range. The Kragoth cruiser exploded, but the blast damaged 2 of the human ships. They did not retreat. They maintained position, protecting the civilian vessels behind them even as their own hulls burned. "Commander," Vorath said from his station, "I am reading something strange. Several of our repaired ships are performing above expected parameters, much higher than our original specifications." "What do you mean?" "The modifications the humans made," Vorath said. His voice carried a mixture of awe and disbelief. "They are working even better than their calculations predicted. The power distribution improvements are allowing our shields to absorb more damage. The cooling system upgrades mean that our weapons can fire continuously without overheating. Commander, our ships are stronger than they have ever been." On the main screen, Captain Liu was coordinating the defense with calm precision. "Alpha Wing, concentrate fire on that cluster of Kragoth destroyers. Beta Wing, protect the station's lower approach. Gamma Wing, prepare for a flanking maneuver." The human captain noticed something on her displays, and her eyes narrowed. "Kragoth command ship identified. Large biomechanical vessel at coordinate 773, Mark 42. That is their fleet controller. If we can destroy it, their coordination will collapse. All heavy units, target that command ship. Pour everything into it." Zeleth watched as every human warship capable of long-range fire turned toward the Kragoth command vessel. The alien ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the largest human warship. Its surface writhed with biomechanical components, weapons growing from its hull like tumors. It seemed almost alive, pulsing with organic energy. The human ships fired together in a coordinated strike that lit up the darkness. Hundreds of projectiles and energy beams converged on a single target.
The Kragoth command ship's shields flared and held for exactly 4.3 seconds. Then they collapsed. The ship's biomechanical hull ruptured. Organic fluids sprayed into space, freezing instantly. Secondary explosions rippled across its surface as weapons and power systems detonated. Within 30 seconds, the command ship was dead, tumbling through space as a broken wreck. Immediately, the Kragoth attack faltered. Without their command ship's coordinating signals, the swarm lost cohesion. Individual ships began operating independently, their tactics becoming predictable and defensive. "Press the attack," Captain Liu commanded. "Do not give them time to reorganize. All ships advance. Destroy them." The combined Thoran and human fleet surged forward. Now it was the Kragoth who were on the defensive, retreating in disorder. Human ships pursued with ruthless efficiency, destroying enemy vessels one after another. Zeleth found himself gripping his console as he watched. His people had fought the Kragoth for 2 years and barely survived. The humans had been here for 3 weeks and were systematically destroying them. A Kragoth destroyer made a desperate suicide run toward the station. It accelerated to maximum speed, clearly intending to ram the orbital facility and kill everyone aboard. 3 human warships intercepted them simultaneously. They did not try to destroy it at a distance. They flew directly into its path and opened fire at suicidal range. The Kragoth destroyer exploded less than 2 kilometers from the station. The blast wave struck the human ships, sending them tumbling. One broke apart completely. The other 2 survived, but were heavily damaged, their hulls torn open and leaking atmosphere. But the station was safe. Zeleth felt something break inside him. Those human crews had just sacrificed themselves for a Thoran station without hesitation, without even being ordered to do so. They had simply seen the threat and stopped it, regardless of the cost. "Medical teams to Sector 7 and 9, he ordered, his voice rough. "Get rescue shuttles to those damaged human ships immediately. Prioritize their wounded. Move now." The battle continued for another 40 minutes, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Kragoth fleet was shattered, broken into fleeing fragments that the human ships hunted down methodically. When the last enemy vessel was destroyed or had escaped into jump space, an eerie silence fell over the command center. Captain Liu's face reappeared on the main screen. She looked tired now, and there was soot on her face from smoke in her own command center. "All ships, report status." The reports came in one after another.
Zeleth nodded slowly. "I have noticed that too. They have a phrase I heard some workers using. They say, 'Failure is not an option.' They truly believe that. If something needs to be done, they will find a way to do it, no matter how difficult, no matter how dangerous." 3 months after the battle, the last Thoran ship was fully repaired and operational. The human fleet prepared to depart. Captain Liu came to the station for a final briefing. She brought combat data and tactical analysis from the battle. "This information might help if the Kragoth return," she said. "We have detailed scans of their current weapon systems and ship configurations. We also left you some surprises in your defensive network, just in case." "Surprises?" Liu smiled. "Let us just say that if the Kragoth come back, they will find Stellar Station Kef-7 much harder to attack than they expect. We installed some additional defense systems while we were here. Consider it a parting gift." Maria Santos came to say goodbye as well. She brought final reports on every ship they had repaired, along with detailed maintenance schedules and modification documentation. "Your fleet is stronger now than it was before the war," she said. "The modifications we made should serve you well." Zeleth looked at the reports, then looked at Maria. "When we signed the contract, I thought we were hiring workers. I did not realize we were gaining family." Maria's eyes became bright with emotion. "That is the nicest thing anyone has said to me in a long time, Commander." The human fleet departed in the same coordinated fashion they had arrived. 60,000 workers returning home after 3 months of tireless effort. 23 warships, 21 of which would make it home. The 2 destroyed vessels would be remembered in both human and Thoran history. As the last human ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel,
Zeleth received a final transmission from Ambassador Chen Wei. The young human who had started everything appeared on the screen with that knowing smile. "I told you we like to bring everything we might need," he said. "Did you bring what you needed?" Zeleth asked. Chen Wei's smile grew wider. "No, Commander. We brought what you needed. There is a difference." The human fleet vanished into jump space, leaving behind a restored Thoran defense force and a station full of people who had learned something important. They had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to abandon those who needed help. 2 weeks after the humans left, Zeleth was reviewing defensive readiness reports when Kess entered his office with an urgent expression. "Commander, we just received a distress call from the Valorian system. They are under attack by the Kragoth. They are requesting any available assistance." "How many ships are responding?" Zeleth asked. "So far none. The Galactic Council was debating the proper response. They are forming committees to study the situation." Zeleth stood up. "How long would it take us to reach Valorian space?" 4 days at maximum speed, Kess said. Then her eyes widened as she realized what he was thinking. "Commander, we have no formal alliance with the Valorians. We have no obligation to help them." "I know," Zeleth said. He was already pulling up fleet deployment orders. "But someone recently taught me that obligation is not what matters. Helping people who need help is what matters. Contact Captain Morath. Tell him to prepare the fleet for immediate deployment. And Kess, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we are doing. I think they will want to know." As the Thoran fleet prepared to depart on their first mission to help another species, Zeleth stood at the observation window one last time. He thought about Maria Santos and her 60,000 workers. He thought about Captain Liu and her warriors who had fought without hesitation. He thought about Jackson and Rodriguez and all the humans who had consumed impossible amounts of coffee and worked around the clock simply because it needed to be done. The galaxy had treated humans as children, as newcomers who did not understand how things worked. But the humans had understood something the older species had forgotten. They understood that civilization was not built on treaties and trade agreements. It was built on simple acts of courage and compassion. It was built by people who helped other people, even when it was difficult, even when it was dangerous, even when there was no reward. The Thoran fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward Valorian space. They were going to help people who needed help. They were going to stand with those who stood alone. They were going to be the kind of friends that humans had been to them. And somewhere in human space, Zeleth knew that Maria Santos and Chen Wei would be smiling, because they had not just repaired Thoran ships, they had repaired something more important. They had repaired the Thoran people's faith that the galaxy still had heroes. They had shown that kindness and courage still mattered. They had proven that the best response to darkness was not careful calculation, but simple, stubborn determination to help. 3 months later, Zeleth received a message from Earth. It was from Maria Santos. "Commander, I heard about what you did for the Valorians. I heard you saved their colony when no one else would help. I am very proud of you." The message included a video attachment. It showed the human repair crews back on Earth gathered together in a large meeting hall. When Zeleth played it, he saw 60,000 humans stand up and applaud. They were applauding him, applauding the Thoran fleet, applauding the decision to help others. At the end of the video, Maria spoke directly to the camera. "Welcome to the family, Commander. That is what we call people who help others. We call them family. And family looks after family." Zeleth saved that message. He played it for his officers, for his crew, for every Thoran who needed to understand what they had learned from humanity. The lesson was simple but profound. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but it was less dangerous when people stood together. It was less dark when people brought light. It was less cruel when people chose kindness. The humans had come with caffeine and modifications and warships, but what they really brought was hope. Hope that the galaxy could be better. Hope that civilizations could work together. Hope that doing the right thing still mattered. And that hope, Zeleth realized, was the most powerful weapon in the universe. 6 months after the humans left, the Thoran Coalition formally proposed a mutual defense treaty with Earth. The proposal was simple. If humans ever needed help, Thorans would come. No questions asked, no debate, no committees. They would come with everything they had, just as humans had done for them. The treaty was signed 3 weeks later in a ceremony attended by representatives from both species. Chen Wei represented Earth. Zeleth represented the Thoran Coalition. As they signed the documents, Chen Wei smiled that knowing smile one more time. I told you bringing everything we might need was a good idea. Zeleth smiled back, a gesture he had learned from humans. You brought exactly what we needed, Ambassador. You brought friendship. And in the end, that proved to be stronger than any weapon, more valuable than any technology, more powerful than any fleet. That, Chen Wei said, is what humans have been trying to tell the galaxy for 30 years. We are not the most advanced species, we are not the oldest civilization, but we are the best friends you will ever have. And friends, Zeleth said, standing up and extending his hand in the human custom, do not leave people behind. Never, Chen Wei agreed, shaking his hand firmly. Never.